All right, class. Well, here we are. Started Unit 4, which is crazy to think that we've already gone through 3 weeks worth of content. So, if you are not caught up, I think as I've mentioned, I'm not able to take any late assignments anymore. So, I'd encourage you as we continue on throughout the rest of our course to really make sure that you are completing everything as scheduled, because these points do add up. And our eventual grades will be coming very quickly. Believe it or not, we are going to be at the end of the term before we realize it, right? So we're already done with week 3. Here we are in week 4, in unit 4, session 4, or whatever, module 4, however you want to kind of phrase that. But the term, as I mentioned from the beginning, is going incredibly fast. Seen some great content. I've been grateful for some of you reaching out and asking questions. Haven't heard from all of you. So if there are questions that you have, please make sure that you do reach out to me, because I don't know how to support you or what questions you have if you don't ask those questions. So I try to get back to you very, very quickly, and so that is still what I will continue to do this week. So this is going to be kind of a brief week, if you will. We started a little bit late. We still have plenty of time. We still have your expectations as far as postings and different comments and all that. But we're going to be reading now 2 books, okay? So we'll be in Smith, so we'll be reading James Smith's books. We'll be in chapter 6 and 7, so pages 137 through 188. And then we'll also start into the Brooks text, right? So we'll be reading The Road to Character. We'll be in the intro and then chapter 1, so we're looking at pages 11, in the intro, and then through 15, okay? So XI, and then obviously 1 through 15. We will be looking at virtues in the news. Okay, so that's going to be an assignment due. There's some videos, and then there's some discussion questions. I realized that the link to the Diana, Princess of Wales eulogy is not live in the syllabus, so I will be posting that separately in the module itself. So if you click into week 4, you go in the introduction, you got the readings, you've got the multimedia, and then the discussion this week, actually the link is live, which is great, in the actual module itself, so you've got there. So if you actually go in and look around, you'll find there's a number of different resources that speak directly to the eulogies. If you have a subscription to New York Times, it'll take you there. If you don't, I'll also be posting some other links to get in there as well. So there's a couple of ways you can get that eulogy. But basically what we're looking at this week is what's the difference between a eulogy, so how you're remembered when you're gone, and a resume. What have you done, right? So what are just your accomplishments or things that are getting you from one job to the next? I don't know about you, and maybe this is because this is just unique to me. But I remember, so growing up, I went to a church, large church. In fact, it was a very, very large church. Probably sat, I don't know, a couple of 3,000 people or something like that, maybe even more. There was a balcony. And I remember, I don't know where I got this idea, but I remember at one point, I wanted to fake my death. I think, well, that's morbid. That's why what are we talking about? But here's why I wanted to fake my death. I wanted to fake my death because I was curious to know what people would say about me when I was gone. And I remember I wanted to, so in this it was a big auditorium. Actually, it looked like half of a golf ball. It was this huge, huge church in Northern California. And it was a dome. It was a dome shape, so it was round. It looked like half of a golf ball. Like God had all the jokes, right? He had hit his golf ball and half of it wedged into the ground, and we called it the kingdom. We called it all these different things, right? The king being God, and it was this amazing space. And the balcony, I remember the balcony. I wanted to sit up in the very top, right, in the first row, and just kind of peek my head over. And I wanted to watch as people filtered in. Maybe this came because I was a youth pastor, and one of our students actually had cancer and passed away. And there was thousands of people that came to this guy's memorial service. And I just wondered, what would people say about me? What would they say about the life that I lived? I don't know if you ever think about that, but I think that there's some of us that live for the here and now. We live for the promotion. We live for all of these different things, and yet there's so much more to it than that. So you'll see there's a question here for you to discuss, this eulogy versus resume. What was your take on the Adam 1 versus to Adam 2 progression? How would you describe your virtue pursuits so far? Would they be more inclined to a eulogy or a resume, and why is that? And this is your discussion. So you'll be responding by tomorrow night, Wednesday at midnight, and then you'll go back and forth with 2 of your peers by Sunday at midnight. But that's an interesting question. What is it that you're living for? As you think about your values, what is it that you value? Where do you place that value? Do you place the value on accomplishing things and moving up, through the ranks and progressing in promotions and all of those things? A number of you are here to complete your first bachelor's degree, and hopefully, I'm sure, to move on to maybe even your first career, job, or maybe it's a promotion, and those are all great things. But what will we be remembered for, I think, is the question we're getting at here. What will you be remembered for? When people look at your life that you lived, and especially when you think from a leadership standpoint, where have you led people, right? What direction did you lead people? Did you lead people, if we're talking within the Christian context, did you lead people to Christ? Or did you lead people away from him? Did you lead people into good places? Were you caring? Were you compassionate? What were these values? How did you flesh out these values, right? What did it look like when you lived a life? And was it a life that was a life lived only for yourself? Or was it a life that was lived for the benefit and the well-being and the human flourishing of other people? Those are the big, big questions to ask. So, again, we got the readings. You click on multimedia, and we've got some videos in there. Again, there's some videos from Jamie Smith. There's the moral bucket list things from the Road to Character that I want you to look at, just to watch these videos to kind of, again, they're going to kind of echo what it is that you'll see in the text, but I think they're great reminders. So I hope that you are reading the text in full in addition to watching the videos, because the videos are there to really add to what it is that you're assigned to do, the reading, okay? And then we have virtues in the news, number 1. So I'm going to read through this just to make sure that it's clear. So the opportunities to see virtues on display in our world are endless these days. Now, here's the thing that I want you to think about. People all over the world hold to different virtues, okay? So what you may think is a virtue, others may not think that it's a virtue, or maybe they think about it differently, right? So students are expected to submit 2 assignments based on current events and news connected to virtues and leadership, toxic, authentic, and so forth. The completed assignment to be turned into Sakai should include the proper citation for the news article and 1 to 2 page analysis of the current event with connections to the virtues being discussed in the course, okay? So don't give me bullet points, give me some actual analysis, right? So give me, and if it's a page, that's fine. You really can't do it in less than a page. You kind of go over what the article is about, and then talk about the current event with the connections of virtues that are being discussed and leadership and so forth, okay? So note the news articles for both assignments must be retrieved from a reputable print newspaper or magazine, and each assignment will be worth 5 points each, okay? So here's the thing that I want you to think about. And you can put them in one document if you want to. Wikipedia, not reputable. Okay, Yahoo, really not. I'm not thinking that is a reputable news source. I mean, it has news and it links different things as a news aggregator. So if it's taking you to a place like the New York Times or the Washington Post or maybe a local newspaper, that's fine. But I want you, or think about the AP or Routers or something like that. But don't link to a story from People Magazine or something like that. Although there are some interesting connections there, try and find it from a place that's going to write from a more, I guess I would say, subjective standpoint in their authorship. Okay, so those are due by the end of the week as well. And then if you continue on, you'll see that there's a reminder. The reminder is that we have our initial discussion response, our peer responses, and then virtues in the news, and that's number 1 that's due. Okay, so you have 1 of them that's due. So I shouldn't have said that you should put them in the same document. You have 1 due this week at the end of the week. All right. So yeah, this idea of virtues and values, it really does come down to the question of what is it that is affecting the way that we live our lives. So I think that when we consider how we lead people if we don't pause and we don't think about the long-term effects. So because of what I'm doing today, how is this going to impact and affect the lives of other people tomorrow, right? And tomorrow could mean literally tomorrow or just in the future. But at the same time, one of the things that we need to consider is not just what we're doing from a leadership standpoint today affecting tomorrow, but the question I want us to ask is what's influencing the way that we lead other people? Right? Are we leading people in certain ways because we want, again, going back to this idea of a resume versus a eulogy, we want to move up, or are we leading people in a way that we want to actually benefit the lives of other people? I can't remember if I was talking about this in this class or another class, but I love the portion in the Old Testament, in the book of Jeremiah, where Jeremiah is talking to the Israelites who are in just an incredibly terrible Babylonian exile. And if I have talked about this, I think it's still applicable. And he says, basically, in Jeremiah 29:7, he tells the Israelites that this is the word from the Lord, you are to pursue the welfare of the city, and in their welfare, you too will find yours. And we see this throughout Scripture, that even when things are bad, and things in this Babylonian exile weren't, to say they were bad is the understatement of the century. They, take any sort of persecution or oppression or exile that you can imagine and amplify it. I heard it said one time that obviously the Holocaust and the persecution of the Jews by the Germans and so forth was horrendous. But I heard it said as equating what was happening to the Israelites in the Babylonian exile as being exponentially worse than even that, which is hard to even fathom. And yet here we see that the Lord is telling the Israelites to pursue the welfare of the city, right? Not to live for what they can accomplish today, not to live for a resume, but to live for how they'll be remembered, right? The impact that they'll make. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to exegete a biblical reference to, give a scriptural reference, but at the same time, the idea is if these people are being told this is how you should be living, what is it that we're doing today in 21st century America, where things, although there's challenges, tend to be pretty good? We have choice, we have opportunities, we have opportunities to make decisions. We have decision-making power. We have autonomy to live a life, to choose things. We can choose to come back and complete a degree and go on to get a master's degree. We can choose to apply for this job and not for that job. All of it for what goal, though, right? Is it so you can build up this incredible resume and have all these great toys, which, again, toys and resumes, fine and good, but if they become ultimate things, then they become a problem. But why do we lead? And I think that's the question that I can't answer for you. In fact, I know it's a question I can't answer for. It's a question that you have to answer for yourself. Why do you lead? When you get up in the morning, maybe you have a family. Why do you lead that family? If you go to work, why do you lead within your workplace? Is it again so you can, get all these accolades and accomplishments and be recognized today? Or if you were to fast forward and think about sitting in the balcony of the church that I grew up in Northern California, and you have people parading into your memorial service, is it because you would hope that they would say, that person, that gal or that guy, they were selfless. They were always giving of themselves. They were a servant leader. They were pursuing my welfare over their own. I saw them sacrifice again and again. And that comes by way of these virtues by which we choose to live. So the question is, we think about our own leadership that we need to answer is, what virtues are we adhering to? How does it affect the way that we live? And what will be the eventual outcome when someone eventually does eulogize us? How will we be remembered? And my hope would be, and I hope that it would be the same for you, that we'd be remembered for good rather than not. We'd be recognized for the impact that we made for the greater good of others. And for many of us, our hope would be that the way that we led was representative of the Savior who came into our lives to save us, gave everything for us to serve and not to be served, and that we would then emulate that as well in our leadership. So hope you have a great week. I'm looking forward to reading what you are thinking. Have a great week again, and we'll see you online.